Hey everyone, and welcome back to Train with Honor TV with myself, Chris Honor. Before we go into the podcast, just make sure you give it a like and subscribe to the channel as well. So today, guys, I'm really excited. I'm bringing back a former guest who's got a wealth of experience within health and fitness, worked with some fantastic people. And in the last podcast, we spoke about the immune system and the importance of having a healthy gut. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about why you're struggling with energy right now. You know, your kids are at home, homeschooling, and your stress levels are going to be high. So we're going to hopefully help you. So again, Ollie, thanks very much for coming back and joining us back on the podcast.
Yeah, cheers for having me, mate.
No drama. So just for those who haven't watched the last one, just give a brief sort of 30-second spiel on, you know, who you are, what you've been up to, and you know what's been going on with you in lockdown.
Yeah, so I'm Ollie Matthews, and I have my business OJ Health, and it's taken changes over the years from coming from a personal training background like 10 years ago, just around 13 years ago, but I'm going to keep it down to 10 so I feel younger. About a decade ago, we'll say, with personal training, and then moving into more the performance nutrition, so working with a lot of athletes and Olympics, Tour de France, pro athletes, and really getting the performance up. But in reality, that really didn't serve me as much. I've got that knowledge and I still work with a few athletes, but working with entrepreneurs, working with busy parents more than anything, stressed out individuals, really has helped me move forward. In the last kind of 2-3 years, I've really been diving deeper into immune function, how our bodies really deal with stress, and how we can start to thrive in a world where we're told all the time we need to eat less calories and move more in order to actually get healthy. But in reality, yes, it could be losing weight is simple mathematics, but a lot of people aren't in that position in order to just simply do that. When we've been through a lot of stress in our lives, we have to do the groundwork first to get to that place where we're in a system where I call maintenance, where we're actually able to, I say maintenance, you're not maintaining weight if you don't want to, but you're able to simply cut calories or increase exercise, because we know that exercise is good for us. Too much exercise is stressful.
And now it's, you know, this is the time more than ever where stress levels are going to be at its highest. Obviously, I think the last time we did the podcast was in lockdown 1, I think it was. Obviously, we're now in lockdown 3, and you know, stress levels are huge. Parents that are watching it, mothers, fathers, you know, they're so used to commuting, which, you know, let's face it, that is usually their me time, isn't it? They get to sit down, read the paper, catch up on emails, etc. Whereas now they're struggling, and it's really, really important, I think, that we look at the general health and maybe have just a general discussion as to, you know, why they may be feeling a little bit flat right now, and, you know, maybe come up with, you know, 2 or 3 tips to actually that they can instill in their lives from now, really, because it starts with structure, doesn't it? In
Definitely.
the day.
And also, I think like the belief that you can put yourself first, because a lot of people, I put a post out yesterday, I think it was, about like, when does putting your health first stop becoming a chore and start becoming a necessity? And a lot of people have to wait until they're fully broken before they put themselves first, because a lot of us see it as selfish, that especially when you've got kids, that you don't want to put yourself in front of your kids, and like even when it looks at how we actually are showing up, like, to those children, to those people that look up to us, when we actually are pouring from an empty cup. We're more stressed, we're much more tense, there's much more reactive to things that are going on, more arguments and all these different things, when it's stressful. It's definitely stressful now more than it was this time last year. If we think back to this time last year, coronavirus was not really, well, it was the thing if we look at immune response and actually like look at the actual strains. Coronavirus has been with us for years, but COVID-19 as a strain was something no one had heard of. And this was the point where people were like, is it going to go into something? And then we got into February, and then everyone was rushing to buy toilet paper, and then suddenly we're fully locked down. So it became massively stressful. And as you say, people's schedules had gone from having a good structure to having that completely pulled from under them. So there was no commuting time. Then they're always having to juggle the kids' homework, suddenly switch to being the teacher as well on Zoom lessons, and then having to work from home when previously they'd be at an office, having this commute time and all that different thing. And a lot of people said, yeah, but you have more time for yourself. You don't have to commute. No, a lot of people aren't, because they're so used to that structure. How many times have you worked with someone and they fall off at the weekends because there's not much structure? Now, every day seems a weekend in reality, apart from they have to work. But the surrounding environment, it's just Groundhog Day over and over again. So there's a lot more stress in the system.
Yeah, and a lot of that's because the parents ultimately feel like there's more pressure on them, don't they? Because ultimately they send the kids to school, and it's left for the teachers to do. And now all of a sudden they're having to be the mother, be the father, go out, do the shopping, maintain the 2 meter distance, make sure that they're safe, make sure their families are safe. The limitations are there, and having this, it's all well and good, I suppose, with me saying that that they have to have a structure. But now I suppose we have to pull together as families, and pull together as groups in society to become a little bit more accountable, don't we, really? And when I say that, it's like if you've got an 11, 12-year-old child who's on the laptop. If you're savvy about it, all you need to do is set them up on the laptop and say, right, for the next hour, I want you to crack on with this. If you've got any problems, write down the notes, and then I'm going to come down in an hour, see how you get on, because that's going to give the parent that hour to solidly zone in on work and what they need to do. And then they know that 15-minute drinks break, let's say, where they go downstairs, make sure the kid's happy, and then go upstairs, go to the toilet, do whatever they need to do. It comes down to, I guess, having a structure and manage, and how well you're managing your day. And also it's educating your family as well, isn't it, to be able to adapt and overcome to what, let's face it, it's a normal situation. It is a normal situation, minus the fact that we've got COVID.
Yeah, and I think there is that, but there's also the fact that when we look at health of children nowadays, there's more symptoms of ADHD, ADD, ADHD, and the attention spans are a lot lower than ever. So I know, how old are you?
Me, 37 now.
So we're in school similar times. I'm 34, you're 37. So when we were in school, there was a lot of kids that were troublemakers in school, and the attention span was quite low then. Now, if we think about these 20 years later, 25 years later, and so on, attention spans have got lower. Yeah. Why are social media apps, where there's 6-second, 30-second videos or whatever, being much more popular than ever? People have low attention spans. So plonking a child in front of a screen is all good in theory, but if they weren't concentrating very well in class, when there are so many things around them, having this, I know myself with a webinar, but I much prefer having a webinar I can pause and then go to the toilet or go get a drink, or do 30 minutes and then have a break and then another 30 minutes later on, because attention span is so much lower. Now, if we're having that and parents are going to have to deal with that, I think it's definitely something where we have to take that into account. And looking at what else are we looking at health-wise, that the parents' attention span is lower because they're more stressed, then that leads to sleep problems, that leads to more cravings and more stress there. We have that vicious circle of stress causing inflammation, which cause inflammation causing stress. So we're constantly making things worse, and we're stuck in this loop. And how do we deal with that? It's easy to say go for a walk. It's easy to say get out and go and do a workout in the park or something, or just any of these little things. But I definitely know from working with a lot of parents at the moment, and I hold my hands up. I don't know firsthand experience because I have a niece and nephew. I don't have kids myself. But when I look at my story of my dad dying when I was 15, I look at how stressed he was without a pandemic. He was stressed with his job, and that was essentially what killed him, with getting a migraine and then having a stroke. So he was seemingly healthy. On the Wednesday, he got a migraine, went into hospital, the Saturday he was dead, just instantly like that at 47. And then I look back at like all these, like, I've had people actually tell me, like, you don't know what it's like because you're not a parent. No, but I know what it's like to be a 15-year-old that loses their dad because they're stressed out.
You still see it. You still got family. You still got family. You still got friends with kids, and you're going to get a good insight anyway because obviously you talk about it, don't you? So it's obvious.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
And I think it's having that empathy to actually know that, but not have sympathy. Like when we're looking at structure, like you work with a lot more athletes as well, which are going to be used to a lot of structure. When we work with these individuals that are busy with their jobs as well, that are having their families, and even supposed with athletes that are like close to the professional level, but they're still not, like when we look at like the full lockdown that was happening, and you see in footballers training at home in their home gyms. Yes, they've got the money to do it, but they're still not used to that.
Yeah, exactly.
They're still used to going out and doing it. They've then got their families around them, and some of them are loving the extra time with their family, but their fitness levels drop very quickly. I think there was like, oh, we'll have a 2-week circuit breaker of the Premier League to try and stop all the infections. That would be pointless because if you have a week off, you're then going to need 2-3 weeks to get the pre-season in to get them back to that fitness or something. It's your 2 weeks off, you're going to need it like double that or whatever it is. Like, I think people underestimate how fit professional athletes actually have to be specifically fit for their actual their sport they're undertaking.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was listening to a podcast. I think it's the High Performance podcast with Jake Humphrey early on today. And one of the big things that stands out was a lot of people used to critique Wayne Rooney all the time for being lazy, and probably in this day and age, Harry Kane for being lazy. But what they don't see is all the work that they have to do behind the scenes to actually get to the levels to perform on the Saturday or the Sunday, because obviously they've got to make sure that their nutrition's on point. They've got to make sure that this, like you said earlier, the sleep's on point. You know, we don't know what's going on in their lives. You know, how is their mindset, and you know, and it's understanding how it's going to benefit you. And I suppose just sort of touching upon nutrition there, there's been a lot of talk about Marcus Rashford and the food banks and everything. And I think Boris has said earlier today that he's going to continue supporting less privileged families with more food donations now, which is fantastic. But what we need to consider is, you know, what's the quality of this food? You know, what is the quality of this food that these people are getting? Do we need to, you know, are they used to going to McDonald's, or are they used to just getting microwave meals? And you know, we've got to be able to educate these people as well. And I think that's something that you know, as coaches, we most certainly, you know, we need to look at more the, you know, the health style, and you know, recommending, you know, chicken, broccoli, and you know, potatoes, for example, for a dinner, instead of saying, right, you can go and have a burger and chips and beans, because obviously calorific, it might be, in terms of the calorie count, they might be similar in terms of you know, it could be 500 calories for the burger and then 500 calories for the chicken meal, but it's the quality of the food that's ultimately going to boost their immune system. It's going to boost their mental health. It's going to keep them fuller for longer, and of course, the energy balance is going to even itself out a little bit more, isn't it?
Yeah, and I absolutely love it. I'm a big Man United fan, so I'm a fan of Rashford, and it made me remember like how much, like why us United fans love his stuff. Obviously, you're not a United fan. What, you Liverpool?
I'm a Leicester fan, mate. Leicester.
Yeah. So they will hopefully we'll have more of a tussle with you than Liverpool this year.
Yeah,
surprisingly, which is a cool thing. Someone sent me this thing yesterday. I'm going to find it. It was a joke they made. Obviously, going off track with this, sent me a photo, and it was like, a man is out walking his dog when Liverpool score comes in. 1-0 to Burnley. The dog bares its teeth, growls, and goes into a frenzied rage. The passerby sees this and asks, "Blimey, what does the dog do if Liverpool win?" He said, "I don't know. I've only had him since Christmas." That might come down to like bite me in the bum, but yeah, I love that Rashford program, but it actually like made me really emotional, because I remember being that kid that I had like this disc that was like the lunches. So you got the lunches on the school, and I'd go there and there was like £1.15 you'd have on this disc, and you'd get your like chips and beans, and then you got to grab a donut. Obviously, like taking health out of the equation there, but then you like they'd say, "Oh, this is like £1.20," and like it made me like almost cry. I think I actually shed a tear when I was like looking this, like I was one of those kids that was having that, like having to put that donut back because the school meal didn't cover it. And like they should be able to have something like that, or okay, healthier, like getting your veg and meat in there and then having some fruit for dessert, but still like having to put that back, which is horrible. And there were times when like my best mate would give me like 20p just so I could have like the proper lunch that I wanted. But we definitely do have to get the education out there as well. And even at times like when we look at like the food pyramid and how that's built on carbohydrates first and all this sort of thing and grains and all this sort of stuff of like, yeah, it could be a step towards healthier, but nowhere near healthy. And health is an individual basis. Like I've got some people that, as we've said about, they're so stressed out. We have to go through. I've got these 6 steps that I go to, and my aim is to get them at that step 6. I've been live on it today, in order to push their health forward, in order to like be there and be able to like move with their health in a non-stressful way. And like yes, like it might even be that like with me, like, I have this thing where I call it a veg mash or an ice cube, whatever it is, that we look at like having this 30 grams of fiber. And I hold my hands up, like I was saying, I used to be this professional that would be just the broccoli. Like saying, just get your veg in. It doesn't matter if it's just the broccoli. But in reality, I've seen things like getting that fiber in on its own causes some damage if their gut health isn't right, because their gut isn't ready to actually have that, absorb it, push it through the system, and so on. That we need to look at actual microbiome. Like the gut has like its own microbiome, and we look at the diversification of bacteria in there. So the more different types of fiber we can get in there, the more beneficial it's going to be. And so when I think I put a picture on Instagram about like this, I put like 20 veg, chopped loads of little bits up, blended them, put them in ice cubes, and then I have them in a smoothie every morning with like some protein powder, some coconut milk. And that to me is going to get people set up for the day more than just saying eat the 1 veg or 2. But if someone's eating no veg, it's still a push in the right direction. And I don't see like when we saw those pictures come out with kids' meals, and there was that £30 one. There was one where a chef had got £30 worth of food, made some amazing meals for like 5 days of the week, like 1 or 2 meals for £30 each day of the week. Yet you see the government give this crappy amount of food, and you can see they're stressed out, they're malnourished, but just because their mate has got this food processing thing, we'll give him this contract so he can get extra money. Now, there is the other side of that, where I would like to think if I was in that position, I wouldn't just give it to a mate, but I might well do, because we want to support those that are close to us. The same with other contracts of friends that have got a business. Like it is like part of that referral side of things. Like I trust that friend. I don't think it is amount of trust we're doing it because it's going to be good. I think they're doing it because of money, and that's the thing. Like an ethical side of me doesn't sit well with that. But like, would we be in that situation? Same like pay rises and stuff. Would I give myself a pay rise if I was in that position? Probably. I would like to think I wouldn't, but like, hold on, I might well do that.
You've got to earn it, haven't you? You've got to look at what at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you're the prime minister, whether you're a personal trainer or shop assistant. You've got to be paid what for the value that you're giving somebody.
Yeah.
So if you've got we'll go back to the personal training element. If you've got a personal trainer that's just come straight into a gym, and they're being paid by the gym, and they're being paid £30 an hour, and then you've got somebody who's been on 10 years worth of courses and they're still getting paid £30 an hour as well. That doesn't sit right with me, because what you're paying for is the experience, the know-how, the knowledge, and the results that they've got. And the person with the experience is obviously going to be able to get better results than the person that is, well, hypothetically, than the person that's just out of PT.
Providing they're using that knowledge, right? Because I had a story where last year, for December last year, the year before, so 2019, I wanted to register as a practitioner for a company called Energetics because I love their supplements. They're very like homeopathic supplements. They're practitioner only. But even though I had insurance for what I was doing, I didn't have the right practitioner qualification. So I went away, got the qualification, 2 different qualifications, registered to the International College of Holistic Medicine, went back to them and then say, hey, I want to join now. So great, I'm a registered practitioner with them. And as a result, my insurance has gone to like nutritional therapy, different testing, gone into real holistic nutrition and holistic coaching. And like, I'm a full licensed practitioner, which to me sounds cool. and I've learned a hell of a lot over the last year. But when I look back at what I could have added to people's lives when it came to coaching last year, like, yes, it's improved, but it's going to still be like pretty similar value. And I think like it's great to have these qualifications, but only if we're using them. I've seen many people get qualifications and just be bored. They're getting them to like there's still reps points and things like that. Are they still in the industry? Things like
They are,
that.
yeah. I think Simspa go. I mean, I'm part of Simspa, and I know they use them. I think you go on a specific course and it gives you like 4 reps points or something like that, and they tally up. But you know,
I think that was like it's like covering your insurance, isn't it? Like I'm not good as a personal trainer anymore, so it's a completely different world with like it's like more medical insurance which I have to look at because of the supplements I'm recommending and because of the depths of like a lot of the health stuff we're going through. Like I'm specializing a lot on brain fog and sleep and all these different things and like neurological symptoms, so like really lowering inflammation, helping autoimmune conditions. And whilst like to be fair, like the way some of the government have put some of the advertising out, I probably could say that I fixed this or fixed that, but legally with the governing bodies, I can't say that, which is frustrating. So, especially, I think like we saw, and it's been changed by advertising standards agents now. We don't want to make this political, but advertising standard agencies saw one of the government notices, and they said that people that are running or walking their dog are likely to have COVID. Talk about fear factor. It's actually been pulled back now, and they've said we won't do that anymore because people complained about it. But are they more likely to have COVID? No, like everyone's in the same boat. So I think like we have to watch what we say when it comes to
because all it takes is for us to come into. I mean, I went for a walk this morning, and you know, I could have walked past somebody with COVID. We don't know, obviously. Same as you've been in the chiropractor earlier on, and it could be exactly the same. We just don't know, do we? And unless it's been proven, or unless we've tested the waters, we ain't gonna know. And this is ultimately what people have got to do. They've got to be able to not be afraid to try out different methods of coping strategies, because it's trial and error, isn't it? And you know, we've got to be, you know, we are in bad times. We've got to adapt. We've got to overcome. And it's just one of those. So just to sort of wrap it up, I mean, what would be your like 3 top tips for, you know, maintaining a healthy, balanced, healthy lifestyle? I guess now I don't want to get the cliche work-life balance, because I don't like that. But in terms of, you know, getting a good healthy balance of life right now, what would be your 3 top advice bits of
I think
for that?
Sleep has got to be key in there. Like if you're not getting a good 7-8 hours of sleep, if someone says, oh, I'm good on 5 hours of sleep, come back to me in 5 years time and tell me you're still good on 5 hours of sleep. You need to link that back to underlying health conditions, undiagnosed autoimmunity, neurological autoimmunity, all these different things of like, well, what is the repercussion hormonally with neurotransmitters, with cravings, with depression, with anxiety, and all this stuff with not getting your sleep right. So I see a lot of people that won't be able to switch off before bed. Like I've now said I'm going to make a commitment of not when football's on, because I'll still watch the football live, but like when I'm able to, like 9 times out of 10, switch off blue light, even with blue light blocking glasses. So I'll still wear them, switch off technology 2 hours before I go to sleep. So that'll actually involve having a conversation or doing some reading, but just to see the impact of my sleep. And I use an Aura ring. So I've got an Aura ring here and I've got my Apple Watch. So I check things like sleep quality, readiness levels, resting heart rate variability, body temperature. And like, I think we should definitely schedule another show if you want to. I'm happy to do that in the next couple of weeks. I apologize for not having loads of time with this one, but so sleep is the key thing. Getting your sleep routine before you go to bed, but also how you wake up, rather than having like coffee as like it's a stimulant, and like we wake up and then coffee stimulates the bowel, which means like a lot of toxins that aren't ready to come out, and like we don't get the nutrients from some things, and it's stressful on the system if you've got problems with sleep. So if you're waking during the night to go to the toilet, something which is seen as normal but is common, like you wake during the night once, twice, 3 times, it's common. Just because something is common doesn't make it normal. You should be able to sleep through and then need the toilet. So the way we breathe, so looking at like people are breathing a lot through their mouths rather than their nose, and our nose is the normal filtration system which helps lower stress. There was actually like a study done where someone blocked his nose for 2 weeks and his stress levels increased just because he was mouth breathing, like his blood pressure increased. I don't know the ins and outs of that study. I've read it, but I can't remember the ins and outs. So I'll say that that's basically like what happened on there. The percentages and stuff I need to look deeper into. It's all on PubMed if you wanted to look, but also as well managing your blood glucose levels. So what you're eating, so testing blood glucose. I done a big video on it yesterday or Monday. I've got a female health reboot, which is a free 6-week program. We're in week 4, but obviously people are still, of course, recorded. So if anyone watches this and they want in, just drop me a message and I'll let you into the group because the calls are all recorded. Yeah. I think we're going to make it more like an evergreen program, like how people do that. It's an evergreen program, build the trust and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. And bring us over the link and we'll stick it in the program notes for sure.
And then people can just request access to the group. So and it's the female health reboot. So there's the blood glucose management call in there, but I think test your blood glucose, see where it is fasted. If it's not in optimal levels, like why is it not? And remember, stress increases it as well. And like look at this side of things. So I think sleep. I would say breathing, but more importantly, blood glucose levels and hydration. So they're the big things I would say. Those 3 things. Obviously, there's breathing in there, which is an important thing. But like I would say, sleep, blood glucose, and hydration.
Fantastic. So there we go, folks. There's a good 20-25 minutes worth of gold dust there for you, and some ways that you can, take your health to the next level without having to, go on hour-long walks or without having to do meal prep or anything like that. Ollie, it's been absolutely fantastic to catch up. Really do appreciate your time, buddy. And we'll definitely get something else booked in over the coming weeks. And obviously, pair of us are up to his eyeballs at the moment, so we'll definitely get something sorted. Guys, if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, please make sure that you do it now. We'll stick Ollie's contact details and links below. And as always, if there's anything that you feel that you'd like to learn more about, send us a direct message or stick something in the comments below, and have an amazing day. Thanks very much.